What is XRP? XRP is an example crypto asset designed for inter or intrabank payments and settlements. You don't have to take my word for it, this comes directly from the World Economic Forum. So this is the World Economic Forum's Central Bank Digital Currency Policy Toolmaker Kit. And you'll see here this is a policy maker toolkit that comes from the World Economic Forum. And the reason I mention this is because Gary Gensler talks a lot about government policy. The World Economic Forum, of course, is multiple, well, I would say it's not multiple governments, but it could be if people come together to pursue this vision. So I think it's on page 17 where the World Economic Forum tells you what XRP is. And you don't need to get too hung up on Gary Gensler's attributes of money and thereby disparagement of particular crypto coins. It doesn't matter whether a coin meets all the attributes of money. It's a question of, does it have utility? And you can see here that the World Economic Forum describes this as a crypto asset designed for inter or intrabank payments and settlements. And examples include the JPM coin and XRP. So I would describe XRP not using this particular verbiage because it's a little bit wordy, though I do think it's completely accurate. I would describe it as a bridge asset. So what affects the price of XRP? We've got the formula for correlation here, so we don't need to wonder too much about how we determine how correlation is established. The XRP is heavily correlated with the price of Bitcoin, and we don't even need to apply the formulas ourselves. Others have done this for us. So here's an example. Today's the 9th of August, and over the last 24 hours, XRP is 0.77 correlated with the price of Bitcoin and 0.74 correlated with the price of ETH. And that's why on this channel you will never hear me deliberately disparage ETH or Bitcoin, because I hold XRP. I don't hold ETH. I don't hold Bitcoin. But the asset I hold is, at least over the last 24 hours, 0.77 correlated with Bitcoin and 0.74 correlated with Ethereum in terms of the price movement. So I have, whether I would like to admit it or not, a very heavy exposure to both Bitcoin and to Ethereum. If we look at over the last 7 days, it's 0.72 for Bitcoin and 0.72 for Ethereum. 30 days, 0.69 for Bitcoin, 0.70 for Ethereum, and over the year 0.52, 0.51 respectively. Okay, that's a lot of that's some heavy correlation. What else in heavy correlation in general? But what else in particular moves the price of XRP more than anything else? Well, you might think Ripple, but you would be wrong. The single biggest entity or organization able to affect the price of XRP in the short term is, without contention, the SEC itself. So, notwithstanding the fact that the World Economic Forum considers XRP a crypto asset designed for inter or intrabank payments and settlements, the US SEC considers that XRP has no utility. What a staggering contrast in views there. On the 22nd of December 2020, the SEC charged Ripple and 2 executives with conducting a 1.3 billion US unregistered securities offering. And you can read all about that here, should you want to. The SEC alleges that XRP is a security of Ripple. And between December 21st and December 22nd, 2020, the price of XRP fell by 58.6%. That's as a direct result of the SEC lawsuit. You can learn more about that here. So what is the nature of the SEC's complaint? Well, it's twofold. The first is that past trades of XRP constitute an investment contract, which means that XRP sold under the alleged investment contract are securities. The second is that current and future trades of XRP are also securities. The second one, I think the first is problematic, but the second, wow, that's even more problematic. So let's have a look at the first part of the SEC's twofold complaint. Part one, the first is that past trades of XRP constitute an investment contract, which means the XRP sold under the alleged investment contract are securities. Okay, let's do some more research. So what do the SEC say is an investment contract? Well, it looks like this, and I'll take you straight there. So if you go to the SEC's site, they tell you about investment contracts, and the first sentence is very interesting. And the reason it's very interesting is because the SEC recently, and within the last couple of years, is what I mean by recent, and certainly, when we talk about what's recent is I would say is informative, and what's way back sort of 70 years ago, the Securities Act of 1933 and the 1946 Howey's test, less recent. I think what's happened in very recent history is more informative. And you could argue, as regards to the SEC and their dealings with crypto, by their fruits shall you know them. And I'm going to come back to that analogy, that phrase soon, by their fruits shall you know them. So the introduction here on the SEC, the first sentence says, if you are considering an initial coin offering, sometimes referred to as an ICO, or otherwise engaging in the offer, sale, distribution of a digital asset, you need to consider whether the US federal laws apply. Now, that's interesting because, as I say, in recent history, the SEC have opined that ETH is not a security. Actually, is that statement even true? Well, some would argue yes, some would argue no. And that's because Bill Hinman, when he made that speech, made the usual disclaimer that it wasn't the opinion of the SEC. And so you might think, well, that could be thrown out. Well, you'd be wrong, because the transcript of Bill Hinman's speech, that particular speech, is still up on the SEC website, and because the then chair of the SEC sent a transcript of the Bill Hinman speech to Congress as an example of the SEC delivering clarity. So it certainly can't be thrown out, if for no other reason than the SEC itself didn't throw it out. So if you are considering an initial coin offering, interestingly, XRP never had an initial coin offering, but Ethereum did. But perhaps XRP falls within the rest of this sentence, so where we say, or otherwise engaged in the offer, sale, or distribution of a digital asset. Okay, so maybe that's what Ripple did with XRP. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying maybe it is. Maybe. Okay, so that's where the SEC have explained an investment contract. Ripple never had an ICO, and you can find out more about here, and indeed many other places. But Ethereum had an ICO, and that's not a grey area, it's black and white, it's not contested. You can find out about that here. And I've taken a sample from what I just showed you on the website, and I'll read you a brief excerpt from that sample. Ethereum was also originally funded through an ICO, which took place in 2014. On June 14th, 2018, so that's the recent history I was talking about, Bill Hinman, the then Director of Corporate Finance, the SEC, declared that Ethereum is not a security. Now that's a curious thing because Ethereum squarely meets the criteria set out in this opening sentence. You can read more about the SEC declaring Ether not a security here, or indeed in plenty of other places. Now, I mentioned before the phrase, by their deeds shall you know them. So in recent history, by which I mean 2018, the SEC said that Ethereum is not a security or to be more accurately, corporate director of finance stated that he had an opinion that Ethereum wasn't a security. That isn't necessarily the opinion of the SEC, but that the SEC published on their website and sent to Congress as evidence that they are being clear on crypto. I'll let you decide what's happening there and how clear that is or isn't. And I would say this, it's hard to distinguish between ETH and XRP to the existential extent that a director of the SEC can opine that one is not a security while not opining on the other. So of course the SEC can opine that the Ethereum is not a security, and of course the SEC can say that the law is clear, but they can't do both at the same time without going into ETH in detail and explaining why it is that Ethereum is not a security within the context of the 1933 Securities Act and the 1946 Howey test, which had to do with orange groves. In the words of Brad Garlinghouse, in 2018, Bill Hinman said ETH isn't a security, and Jay Clayton, the chair, agreed. But just weeks ago, Hinman filed a sworn affidavit in court saying the SEC still has not taken any position or expressed a view on ETH's status. So how is the market supposed to have clarity? And to the second point, the point that the SEC is alleging that current and future trades are also securities, there are many people in the market, there are many market participants who contest whether the SEC is actually saying that, but they certainly are. And you can find out much more about that should you want to from Crypto Law. So a shout out to John Deaton and to Crypto Law. You can find out all about the second part of the SEC's complaint against the SEC there. I hope you found this very brief introduction to XRP and what it is and what affects its price useful.